Before we get into this video, hide your identity, activity, and location with Virtual Shield VPN. Cover up to 15 devices for only $2.99 a month with their 40% off Black Friday month sale. The link's in the description.
First, I'd like to just start out getting your general reaction today to the impeachment hearings on the Hill. Do you feel that Democrats made their case, and how did you feel about the Republican performance?
Are you talking about the witch hunt? Is that what you mean? Is that what you're talking about? I hear it's a joke. I haven't watched for 1 minute because I've been with the president, which is much more important as far as I'm concerned. This is a sham and shouldn't be allowed. It was a situation that was caused by people that shouldn't have allowed it to happen. I want to find out who is the whistleblower.
We will never get the chance. We will never get the chance to see the whistleblower raise his right hand, swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. We'll never get that chance. More importantly, the American people won't get that chance.
Thank you. I say to my colleague, I'd be glad to have the person who started it all come in and testify. President Trump is welcome to take a seat right there.
It's absolutely fascinating to watch a bunch of grown men, our so-called leaders, wrangling about in this cesspool of nonsense, swirling around this dog and pony show called the impeachment hearing, while a massive crime which far eclipses the claim that Trump has committed some high crime or misdemeanor by issuing a quid pro quo proposition to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. There's probably no other person I've seen on the internet or in corporate media who has succinctly encapsulated this entire issue than hyper-leftist Brian Tyler Cohen. Here's his take on the Jim Jordan clip you just saw. And stay tuned because the utter ignorance and dishonesty he displays as he itemizes the timeline of events, as he sees it, is strikingly ridiculous.
Just to be clear, Republicans moved Jim Jordan onto the House Intelligence Committee specifically so that he could participate in this hearing. They made the conscious effort to do that. It was not by accident, but by design, which makes this misstep by the Ohio Republican all the more embarrassing. What Jim Jordan was trying to do was give oxygen to one of the many desperate Republican defenses. This one claiming that the impeachment hearings are a sham because we aren't able to hear from the whistleblower whose complaint set the whole thing off. Only, as Representative Welch pointed out, it wasn't actually the whistleblower who started everything, it was Donald Trump.
Actually, he's dead wrong about that. And I'm speaking as a guy who has absolutely no love for Donald Trump. Biden and his sons and Burisma Holdings are the ones who actually started this whole thing. And it's interesting how the left just dismisses those facts.
The whistleblower followed proper protocol. He or she sent the complaint to the Inspector General, a Trump appointee who deemed it credible and urgent. In other words, this has nothing to do with the whistleblower and everything to do with the contents of the complaint, which directly implicate Trump.
And here's a big part of the problem. The implication is not an implication of a real crime, even though everybody on the left says it's a real crime. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Trump asked the president of Ukraine for the favor of investigating a political rival.
Yep, that's true. So what?
Trump withheld millions of dollars of military aid until that favor was fulfilled.
And that's also true. So what?
Trump had Rudy Giuliani run a shadow State Department so he could circumvent national security protocols and facilitate the probe into Biden.
Oh, kind of like a deep state operation? There are so-called deep state operations that happen all the time, which leads to actual criminal activity. And they're going to get out their microscopes and focus on an investigation into the corrupt and corruptible Joe Biden. I'm no fan of Rudy believe the 9/11 official story Giuliani, but surely these critics of Giuliani can do way better than this.
Trump tried to hide the summary of the call in a secure server. All of that is tantamount to high crimes and misdemeanors.
Again, what's the crime? For a crime to exist, there has to be an injured party, and Hunter and Joe Biden, who are political criminals, as they all are, cannot count as injured parties. Ukraine is not an injured party because if they were, Zelensky would have testified that they were.
So to claim that the whistleblower's identity is somehow relevant here is beyond ridiculous. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The whistleblower could be Hillary Clinton herself. It would not matter because the complaint has already been corroborated.
Guys, that's just flat out true. It doesn't matter who the whistleblower is. What matters is what the facts are.
So our Republicans are trying to make it seem like this is the whistleblower's fault? That couldn't be further from the truth. This has nothing to do with the messenger and everything to do with the person who actually committed the crimes.
Again, what crimes? There was no victim, so there can be no crime. Actually, there were many, many victims, but nobody's making that an issue, which is what my video here is all about. But we'll get to that in a minute too.
Imagine if a man shot someone on, I don't know, let's say 5th Avenue. The guy then admitted to doing it. Video cameras show him doing it. Other witnesses nearby saw him doing it. You too watched it happen and you called the police. Republicans are basically saying that we can't be so sure that what he did was wrong until we find out who you voted for in the last election. If that sounds insane, congratulations, you now understand the entire Republican defense of Donald Trump.
This is actually well articulated. And the way the Republicans are going at this, that's a fairly neat summation of the GOP defense. And even though Brian Cohen here has this right, it's absolutely amazing to me that he, as well as his fellow Justice Democrat leftists, as well as the GOP on the other side of the aisle, couldn't be more off base or further away from the moral argument on this impeachment topic. Let's continue, and then I'll give you the punchline.
The fact is, if Republicans are so desperate to get to the bottom of what happened like they say they are, if they're so outraged that a person who, frankly, has nothing else to offer besides what they put in the complaint won't come and testify, and how are we supposed to get all the facts without everyone present, then why doesn't Trump come and testify under oath? If the call was perfect, if this is just a witch hunt, if he's done nothing wrong, then he has absolutely nothing to lose by sitting down in front of the committee and answering whatever questions Congress has under oath. The reason, of course, is that Trump is at fault.
Yep, Trump is at fault. And the Bidens are at fault. Obama was and is at fault. All the presidents were at fault, but not for reasons anybody's actually talking about. Let's finish this out.
He admitted in broad daylight that the purpose of his call with Zelensky was to get an investigation into Biden.
So what? An investigation into a corrupt dude sounds like a good move to me. Why does anybody have an objection about that?
Witness testimony after witness testimony confirmed that Ukraine believed the announcement of an investigation into Biden was the sole condition for the release of the aid to Ukraine.
Would you just say aid to Ukraine? That's what nobody's talking about. Everybody's yelling about the fact that aid was being withheld, but nobody's talking about the fact that there's aid in the first place. This aid is extorted money. Almost $400 million worth of extorted money. And Joe Biden's clear quid pro quo was $1 billion in tax extorted money. And nobody's running around making a big deal out of the fact that money extorted from Americans was being used in the first place. It'd be like a mafia leader robbing a bank, calling a rival foreign gang leader in, say, Europe, and offering to give a portion of that stolen money to him if he can expose the corruption of a known corrupt member within a rival mafia's own organization. And then the news turns around and only focuses on the fact that the bank robbing mafia leader withheld those stolen funds from the foreign criminal cartel's military. That's how insane this is. The minds of partisans are so deeply cemented in their own cognitive dissonance and devotion to their GOP or DNC cult that they can't even see a massive amount of stolen money as any kind of problem at all.
What he did was purposefully and knowingly extort a foreign country into doing his political bidding for the express purpose of influencing the next election.
Extort a foreign country into doing his political bidding.
Extort a foreign country into doing his political bidding.
This would be hilarious if it wasn't so damn serious. This guy and so many like him are worried about Zelensky being extorted for political purposes, when those who were really extorted in this whole charade are the American people. This is truly worthy of the most undiluted ridicule.
He then took steps to both hide evidence of his crimes and prohibit White House officials from participating in an investigation to expose those crimes. And as Republicans are finding out on a daily basis, there is literally no way to spin this as proper, moral, or legal.
Says the guy who turns a blind eye to morality in virtually every one of his videos. So what do you guys think? The only high crime I see is the fact that there was a $400 million amount from Trump and a $1 billion amount from Biden just to freely give to Ukraine in the first place? Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.